Viewers, today I am going to discuss some basic questions which come in the minds of candidates who are preparing for SSB interview, and I have with me Deepali. She would be asking me these questions, and whenever a doubt comes in her mind, she can further cross question me or ask me another doubt. So Deepali, what is the first question that comes into the mind of the candidates who are preparing for SSB interview?
Sir, whenever a candidate decides to prepare for any competitive exam or SSB anything, so the very first thing that comes into mind is that how much time can it take? So how much time is sufficient to prepare for SSB?
See, when we're talking about how many months or how much time one has to give to prepare for the SSB, it always depends on the takeoff level of the candidate, which means that when the candidate starts to prepare for SSB, before that, how long has he been preparing for other competitive examinations? Because his knowledge level needs to be good. In addition, does he just want to pass the SSB at the borderline, or does he want to come high in the merit in the entry in which he is applying for? So unless he does well in the SSB, he will not come very high in the merit. Another thing that we have to keep in mind is that the candidate should be physically fit. Some candidates are not so fit, and therefore they will take much longer time. And then there are some candidates who come from semi-rural background or small towns, especially from northern part of India, where their communication skills in English is not good. So then these candidates are going to take more than 6 months. But don't worry. For most of the students who are preparing for SSB, I want to assure them, it should not take more than 6 months of devoted preparation to the SSB. And any other preparation that you are doing can go side by side. And I think only in rare cases, for example, recently one of my students, Anshul Pataria, he passed his 10+2 TES entry from Bangalore in the month of June 2021, and he has been my student for last 1.5 years, and he had to take even spoken English classes because when he joined here for his SSB training, his communication skills in English were not up to the mark. Therefore, it took him so much of time, and it took him 2 attempts. Like, he was a repeater and he passed his SSB recently in his second.
So, what would be the areas where a candidate have to prepare, like only spoken English or other geopolitical scenarios and issues of our country? There are so many things to learn about. So,
True. See, when we're talking about what all areas must one focus, then I think everybody is very clear. Then one has to read English newspaper, one should watch English news on the television. In addition, you can say that one has to do physical exercises on a regular basis to keep oneself fit. And then when we are talking of current affairs, they should be of the standard where the person should be able to give meaningful points in the group discussions, in the lecturate, and when the interviewer asks some question on current affair, the candidate should be able to describe that particular event with good amount of knowledge. So I would say that when you are preparing for SSB, just don't focus on story writing and WAT and SRT. Also focus on your current affairs. That would improve overall.
So, sir, my next question. Okay, sir. So, I'm a woman. I would definitely love to know that how difficult it is for a woman candidate to appear in SSB, or is it same as men's SSB? Because there is difference in the knowledge and in the physical fitness as well. So how difficult is that for a woman to appear in SSB?
See, I'll share this with you. There are number of seats for women are much less.
Yes, sir.
So a woman candidate needs to prepare much more than his male counterparts. Why? I'll give you an example. Every 6 months, women pass their OTA exam and they appear for SSB. More than 50 women pass or get recommended in SSB every 6 months. But we all know vacancies in OTAs are only 12 to 13 for women candidates. That means nearly 40 women candidates get merited out every 6 months. Now these women candidates reappear next time, and there are some freshers as well. So the freshers are now going to compete with those women candidates who have been recommended last time. So I would say that for women candidates aspiring to be armed force officer, they are not competing with their male counterparts. They are competing with their women counterparts who are really good and who have been recommended earlier. So your preparation level, whether it's current affairs, whether it's group discussion, whether it's lecturate, whether it's art of giving interview, or whether it's story writing, has to be much better than other women candidates. The test remains same. No test is different for women candidates, and even individual obstacle remain the same for women candidates.
Yes.
And now that Supreme Court has allowed permanent commission for women candidates, those who desire to take permanent commission, even in our training academies, the criteria are same for women and men. So women candidate would be running alongside men and would be doing the same exercises, route marches, etc., which their male counterparts would be doing.
Selectors see the physical fitness of the candidate, whether it's a male or female. Do they look into this or not?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have this misconception that physical fitness aspect, because they don't make a girl candidate or a woman candidate and a male candidate do running, push-ups, etc., there is not required. That is not true. Your physical fitness has to be good, because only if your physical fitness is good, you will be looking smart. And therefore, I would go on to say that candidates who are at borderline in screening test or stage 1, and if they are not physically fit, they might get dropped just because they are at the borderline and not physically fit. So for them it is a double, they are doubly bad, because in their story writing and individual narration and group discussion they were at the borderline, plus the selectors can already see that physically they are not fit. However, when these candidates who are good in the individual narration, story writing and group discussion in the screening test, if they are good, then the selectors give them some leeway in the screening test and they may pass physically unfit candidates with to the stage 2. That does not mean that in stage 2 only GTO sees physical fitness. Physical fitness will come in the forefront in your stories, because the psychologist will be able to see through your stories that are you physically fit, dynamic, etc. or not. Similarly, an interviewing officer will also see your physical fitness when he is assessing you during the interview. So without taking any physical test, the selectors see your physical fitness in the SSB.
So sir, what we can do for being fit and what should be the routine of a candidate?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So because this once again, just like you asked your first question, how much time do we need to prepare? Similarly, a question if it is asked that, how much time should a candidate devote to physical fitness? I would say it would differ from those who are physically fit. They should devote about 45 minutes to 1 hour daily. And those who are not physically fit, they might have to devote much more time than that. For example, they might have to do physical exercises twice a day, in addition to dieting. And therefore, just to help out candidates, especially during these COVID times, when candidates were unable to go out and exercise or go for a run, I made a video and it's on our channel, the physical workout part. So candidates can watch that video. They can even keep that video on and exercise along with me, because I have shown different exercises once you are able to do these exercises, there won't be any difficulty in for a candidate in climbing a rope or jumping a tiger leap, etc. So I think about 45 minutes is a good time for a fit candidate daily, and for an unfit candidate I would say devote this time twice.
So sir, what kind of clothes a candidate must wear to look more good and presentable in front of the SS?
Yeah, that goes without saying that we should be wearing formal clothes. And when I say formal clothes, I would say that male candidate should wear a full shirt, tie, and a trouser with leather shoes, because that would make you look like a gentleman candidate. Similarly, women candidates should wear something what you're wearing, or they can wear other western outfit. In salwar kameez, formal salwar kameez is also okay, but you don't look like an executive in a formal salwar kameez. So I would say that you should wear formal clothes for the stage one, as well as for the personal interview and the conference. And here I would just like to highlight how important it is for a candidate to look like a gentleman cadet or a lady cadet. See, we all know Commander Jadhav, who retired from Indian Navy, was captured in Iran by Pakistani forces, and he is now in captivity in Pakistan. So when the Pakistani government allowed Commander Jadhav to meet his family in Pakistan, Commander Jadhav was made to wear a proper suit when he was meeting his mother and wife. So even in captivity, an officer is required to wear formal clothes, and when he is meeting his mother and wife, he cannot be made to meet them shabbily dressed. So naturally, Pakistani authorities would have given him formal clothes so that he can meet. Yeah.
So automatically it reflects your personality.
Yes, you look like a more capable, more dynamic, more intelligent and smart individual when you're dressed well.
Yes.
So if you do that on a regular basis, automatically that feeling of smartness, that feeling of confidence, that feeling of being capable will get imbibed in you. So I would say that even when you're going to your college or you're going to your coaching, you should wear smart clothes, formal clothes, so that you feel like a lady cadet or a gentleman cadet.
Sir, so whenever we discuss something about SSB, so people sometimes say that your first attempt is your best attempt, and you have fairly more chances to get recommended in your first attempt. So is it true?
Yeah, that is quite true, but not the way I have seen students discussing it. Why is it true? Because if a candidate is good and he knows this is my goal, say getting recommended, he would be preparing well in advance. He will take coaching, he will go through current affairs, he will go through the test, he will practice those tests, he will keep himself physically fit. So such a candidate would automatically get recommended in the first attempt. So first attempt is a good chance. But if you are seeing it this way, that the candidates do not have a good chance in getting recommended in second or third attempt, I would say that is not correct. Why that is not correct? Because there are some candidates who do not have much of foresight. They do not prepare for SSB in advance. They do not take proper coaching, and then when they go for their SSB in the first attempt, they fail. And instead of getting disheartened, if they continue their preparation, take a good coaching, for example from RS Defence Academy, they will improve in the areas in which they were lacking last time, and then they will get recommended in second or maybe in third attempt. So if you see the results which are announced on after the conference, you would see half the candidates who are recommended in SSB are repeater candidates. and only half are freshers. So there is a good chance for repeaters to get recommended.
There is also one more myth about coaching classes, that once they'll take coaching classes, the selector will make out that whether they have taken classes or not. And is it advisable to take classes or not?
Yeah, that's a genuine question. Most of the candidates who even come to coaching for me to the RS Defense Academy or do online coaching for the SSB classes, they ask me, sir, is it okay to take coaching? And I always tell them yes, because you are going to improve with coaching or with my book or with some YouTube video. That is all coaching only. When the coaching is bad when you do not give your answers and you give up made up answers or answers which some other past candidate has given or which other some recommended candidate has given. That is not required to be done. One must understand how the answer has to be given, and then according to one's own upbringing, socio-economic background, one's education, then one should give their answers or write stories according to their own perceptions and education and age and family background and economic situation, etc. So I don't think there can be a situation where two candidates who come from a divergent background are giving similar answers and they will get recommended. So that does not happen. So I would say one must do coaching because that will speed up the process of improvement. One should read books like this, best book on SSB interview. Because when you can't come for coaching, at least you have a good book to guide you. So in this video, I'll even give link of buying this book online under the description so that viewers can buy. And of course, in case some of you want to do online classes, you can. Now the another part of question, that do the selectors in SSB come to know whether you have done coaching or not? The answer is yes. Just because you have read a book or watched a video or have done online coaching, they do not penalize you. They penalize you when you do not have the self-confidence to give your own answer and you give some made up answers or some answers which do not belong.
So we should not repeat the answers of the
other candidates. That's
or
right.
Who got recommended earlier.
That's right. Okay. So you should watch video of other candidates maybe who got and see what is the good part in them. But it should not happen that you answer similar to their answer. Just like even Kohli has a coach. It does not mean that he can only become a better cricketer by watching Dhoni.
Yes.
Kohli is different. Mr. Dhoni is different. Yeah? Have I answered that?
Yes.
Okay. So I think with that note we'll end this session, and I'll advise my viewers to note down my WhatsApp number from the video itself. And if they have any questions, they can ask me on WhatsApp. And if they have a desire that I should put up a video on any of those questions which are there in their mind, they can even ask me to put such a video. Thank you. Thank you.